folks late last week. So if we should probably revise some of the language in the proposed or the drafts of the letters we've talked about. They've basically repackaged and resubmitted that application to USDA, having actually met some of the onerous conditions that USDA was putting on it. And so I think it's now trying to get this to the committee, the funding committee within USDA that has to approve it, get it back to them, and actually hopefully see an approval here before long. But they're moving forward. They were up here last week, and they're working with the county on grading permit and all the other stuff that they have to do to get the site ready for construction. And so hopefully we'll be able to overcome this last hurdle at USDA.
Didn't he start restructuring his whole company and is that part done?
Yeah.
And he just
So that's part of the new package.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything further on Blue Mountain?
Not
Mia?
that I have. No.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
The only final matter that I wanted to bring up was a fall DC visit that we had talked about last time. To really kind of focus in on the funding and the work plan and on the Water Resources Development Act modification for our project. I don't think there's going to be any firm decisions, certainly on funding, till after the election. So what I'm thinking about is, maybe the week of November 11th or November 18th for a, 1 to 2 day visit with the core ASA and our members, as well as OMB. The week of November 11th is, I think, a federal holiday there at the beginning. So anywhere from the 12th to the 14th for that week, and then the next week of November 18th, anywhere from like the 18th to the 20th. I think at the most we'll need 2 days.
Okay,
So Mia, is the election the 5th?
yeah.
Yeah. Is that first
I
Tuesday?
mean, just in the chance that they're still counting votes that following week, maybe shoot for that 18th to 20th time frame.
That'd be better. That'd be better for me as well.
Sure.
And that's not a CCWD board meeting week. So tentatively, let's shoot for 18 to 20.
Okay. Great.
And we'll nail that down with you.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Any other additional federal updates, Mia?
No, that'll cover it.
Okay, I don't, we have future agenda items coming up later on the agenda, but Mia, I just wanted to throw this out there as one of the ones that would fit into federal legislative updates is the opportunity for additional storage or any storage in Maloney's. And if we could the Bureau of Reclamation, we were waiting for something to happen. Some other agencies working on something similar on the American River. And I don't know where that is, but if we can get an update, maybe in our next meeting as a future agenda item, just a heads up for you before you leave.
Yeah, we haven't engaged directly with Reclamation on that in a while, partly because of the effort that other agencies were pushing to try to get transfer guidelines approved that include conserved water as a basis for storage, and that so we can provide an update on that at the next meeting.
Awesome. Anything else, Mia?
Nope, that'll be it.
All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
Good
All right,
seeing
thank you, Mia.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Ralph, I did that again. Let her go without asking for public comment on federal legislative updates. Is there anything you'd like, or anyone else online? Okay. Okay.
Fair enough.
All right. Next item on our agenda is state legislative update. Kelly.
Good afternoon. So you'll see in the packet where there's several bills in there. We do have Kylie Wright she's the Aqua State Relations Analyst. She's going to give an update on 4 of them. SB 1255, AB 2257, AB 1827, and SB 1072. And then I will give a brief update when she's done on SB 1088. So maybe we can have public comment, or if there's any questions on those specific bills. We have Kylie here to answer
Kylie,
us.
very familiar with Kylie from local government. So good to see you, Kylie.
Thanks, Kylie, for joining us.
Hi, good to see you all. Thank you for having me. I just want to start by saying, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to give a couple of updates on a few bills. First off, we have SB 1255 by Senator Durazo. This bill was originally introduced as only a study bill regarding water affordability and would require honor before July 1st, 2026, and every 3 years after the State Water Board to assess the funds necessary for water systems with fewer than 3,300 connections to provide a 20% bill credit for low-income households. And then on June 3rd, so only a couple of months ago, the bill was amended to additionally require honor before July 1st, 2027, each retail water suppliers that serve more than 3,300 connections to establish a low-income water rate assistance program. And this would include the automatic enrollment of eligible ratepayers and a bill credit of at least 20% of the total water charges and wastewater charges, if wastewater charges are included on the bill. The program is a little bit complex. I'm going to share some of the requirements that the bill would require of the LIRA program. The bill proposes that the funding source for the LIRA program would be through voluntary contributions, and this would be through an opt-out mechanism. So this would be customers who are not receiving the assistance would be charged the voluntary contribution unless they affirmatively opt out of the program. And the system would be required to provide notice of this and recommend a voluntary contribution at a level that would cover the costs of the program. And this would be assuming that 60% of the ratepayers that are not receiving assistance would provide a voluntary contribution. And that's for the initial recommended voluntary contribution. And then ratepayers that do not opt out, that later want to opt out, can do so and could request a refund. If the system does not receive sufficient voluntary contributions to provide at least a 10% bill credit, the system would then default to providing crisis assistance. The system would be authorized to begin collecting contributions before September 1st, 2026. So they would have some time to cover administrative costs, and beginning July 1st, 2027, the bill would cap administrative costs at a 10% of the voluntary contributions. The bill also mentions existing LIRA programs, and they would not have to comply if their programs meet the minimum enrollment and the bill credit requirements as stated in the bill. ACWA has been working with CMUA. We've provided some amendment language, and I know CMUA has also provided some amendment language. We're trying to address some concerns that were raised about the workability of this program. We have received some amendment language from the author and sponsors, and there has been progress made, such as the deletion of the 10% cap on administrative costs and making the inclusion of wastewater in the program optional. But some of the amendments don't address fundamental concerns that ACWA has on the bill. The bill is going to be heard in the Assembly Appropriations Committee tomorrow, and that hearing begins at 9:30. And I can pause if there's any questions on SB 1255.
Yeah, no questions. Thank you.
And then moving on to AB 2257. This is an ACWA sponsored bill, AB 2257 by Assemblymember Wilson. would improve the financial stability of public water and sewer agencies by enhancing public engagement during the rate-making process and is intended to address the rise in Proposition 218 litigation that is making it difficult to ensure agencies can pass fair and reasonable rates to cover costs. Oftentimes, these Proposition 218 lawsuits are filed without first having raised concerns with the public agency during the public notice and comment process that leads up to the decision to adopt rates and assessments. This prevents public agencies from responding and resolving to the disputes to avoid that litigation. This bill would improve the rate-making process by authorizing public agencies to adopt a procedure for the submittal and consideration of public comments regarding the proposed water and sewer rates and assessments. If the agency elects to adopt this procedure proposed in the bill, a person would be required to timely submit a written objection specifying the particular Proposition 218 compliance concern during the rate-making process in order to challenge the adopted rates or assessments in court. And the public agencies would additionally be required to consider and respond to these objections in writing. AB 2257 is going to be heard on the Senate floor and is on its third reading, and that'll be on Thursday. I'll pause for any questions on AB 2257.
I see none. Go ahead. Thank you.
And then moving on, we have AB 1827 by Assemblymember Pappen. This bill was introduced following a recent ruling in the trial court case Patz versus City of San Diego. In Patz, the court invalidated the City of San Diego's tiered water rates that were calculated using peaking factors. The court ruled that the city failed to demonstrate by substantial evidence that the tiered water rates were proportional to the cost of service to each customer, as is required in Proposition 218. And the court's decision rejected a current rate-making practice used by water agencies of assigning less expensive water supplies to efficient water users and more expensive sources to less efficient users without tracing each of those water molecules, and the practice of relying on peaking factors to assign costs among customer classes and to rate tiers without time of use data. And so AB 1827 would address this by affirming existing law that would allow water suppliers to use these reasonable and well-accepted methods of assessing the incremental costs associated with higher water usage demands to high water users. So this would include the high water usage demand of parcels, the maximum potential water use, and the projected peak water usage. And then AB 1827 will be heard on the Senate floor for its third reading on Thursday. Then I will wait to see if there's any comments.
I see none. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, I'm going to give an update on SB 1072. This is by Senator Padilla. This bill would further clarify the types of remedies available to customers who challenge water and sewer rates in Proposition 218 litigation. Typically, the courts have imposed writs of mandate, declaratory relief, and injunctive relief to direct public agencies to change their rates in the future for violations of Proposition 218. Recent class action lawsuits have sought multi-million-dollar refunds, which, if ordered by a court, would force public agencies to raise rates on future ratepayers in order to pay the refunds to the past users. SB 1072 would declare and clarify existing law that if a court determines that a fee or charge for a property-related service, including water, sewer, and refuse collection, violates Proposition 218, then the local agency would be required in the next procedure to impose or increase that fee or charge, credit the amount of the fee or charge attributable to the violation against the amount of the revenues required to provide the property-related service. So this means that the challenger's remedy would be to require the agency to change their rate structure going forward instead of that direct refund. And then this bill, SB 1072, is going to be heard on the Assembly floor for its third reading on Thursday.
Oh, busy week.
That's an important one. That's a big deal for some agencies that have been hit with huge retroactive penalties that end up just hurting the ratepayers anyways.
No, good. A lot of movement on 218. May look a little different next time we run up to against it.
Yeah, yeah, it might.
Does maybe any public have any comments for Kylie as well? Or-
Well, good report, Kylie. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We have no other comments or questions. You did such a good job explaining everything, and everyone understood perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you all so much.
Really appreciate your
Thank
time,
you.
Kylie.
Thank you.
So you'll see in the packet too, there's a section there for just kind of going through the climate bond that will be on the ballot in November as well. I took some time and broke down everything, where some of those funds hopefully will be allocated. And then on the last one too, I just stumbled across AB 173, and that's part of the transportation budget trailer bill. And basically, Caltrans is seeking approximately 250 million to comply with these mandates. And essentially what CSDA did was, put some language in that bill that would require them to give pretty robust reporting to the legislature. So we're hoping that this will help some of these public agencies gain some valuable insights on how how this infrastructure and this vehicle acquisition mandates can be addressed. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Also, I also noticed today, Justin had contacted a firm that's working with the CARB and trying to put together a Zoom presentation with them and looking at the guy responded back immediately to say later on this week, which Mountain County is kind of busy later on this week, but looking for a couple weeks into the future and trying to get members of CARB involved with a large group on a Zoom call.
Great.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Just-
And then I have a brief presentation on SB 1088. I will PowerPoint here.
And very nice job on the climate resiliency bond. I'm going to take this home and read it, hang it on my refrigerator and try and talk it up.
There's a color copy too on our website if you'd like. All right, so SB 1088, Office of Emergency Services, state matching funds for water system infrastructure improvements. Uh-oh. Can you click the next one? I'll give you a little tap. I'll go. Okay. So yeah, really, a quick summary is this is to improve the system infrastructure for community fire prevention and fire suppression activities. It'll be state matching funds to communities located within the WUI, which is the Wildland Urban Interface. It's going to be specifically designated for high fire hazard severity zones or very high fire hazard severity zones. It's going to clarify that hydrants and firefighting water are part of the property-related water service costs per Government Code Section 535750.5, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. And it's sponsored by Tahoe Water for Fire Suppression Partnership, which includes Lake Tahoe Basin, Tahoe City Public Utility District, and South Tahoe Public Utility District. It's really actually a reintroduction of SB 470 from 2023, also with Alvarado Gill. And that was vetoed due to lack of funding. And, SB 1088 is contingent upon funding appropriated from this bond in November. So this is a great bond. This is a great bill, and we're supportive of it, but it is definitely contingent on some of that funding.
How much is in that bucket that this
I
bill
think
would take?
1.5 billion, this would come out of the 1.5 billion for the wildfire.
Forest health. and wildfire
Yeah.
prevention? Okay.
I believe that's 1.5 billion for that one.
It would come out of there, but it wouldn't take up the whole 1.5 billion. I'm not
No,
guessing.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So some of the specific improvements that this would be for is upgrading and upsizing water lines, installing additional fire hydrants, and enhancing the water delivery and distribution capacity. You know, it's really nice, being really specific to some of the water infrastructure, again, like hydrants and larger lines. There were some recent amendments on June 18th. Some of the amendments were the program name changed from to Rural Water Infrastructure for Community Wildfire Protection Program. There was some clarification that the program distributes state matching funds for communities, again, in the high or very high fire hazard severity zones
Are those
within the WUI.
are those defined?
They are, and I'll have some maps later on. It's a little bit older. The ones I have are from 2023, so I'm not sure. I don't know if those are going to be updated because of this, but I'm sure they will.
But there are high or very high in Calaveras County?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I have some maps that I'll show you. And again, they wanted to, some of the amendments again was to ensure the funding is consistent with the services described in the government code, section 53750.5, which again, I'm going to get to towards the end. Some of the other amendments are creating interconnections between water systems for improved water delivery and distribution capacity. And again, enhancing the water system delivery and distribution capacity for adequate fire flows for fire prevention. So the community water systems that maintain 15,000 connections is basically one of the criterias for this is funding as well. And then the water infrastructure for fire suppression improvements and projects that are identified and will be consistent with one or more of the following. And basically some of these, for instance, our local hazard mitigation plan identified some of these projects. So we would utilize that document for if we were to go for some of this funding. For examples, Timber Trails tank, that was something we identified within our local hazard mitigation plan, updating some of our water master plans, which we will be working on updating our Ebbets Pass water master plan. So once we have these plans, we can utilize those as we hopefully apply for these funds,
Do you
as
know
well as Sheep Ranch.
Do you know at this time whether or not we would qualify for that 15, or does it look at each of our water systems individually or CCWD as a whole when it talks about a water system?
It doesn't specify that. That was that new language in June. It didn't specify each individually. I mean, I would assume we apply for it because we are under the 15,000. Excuse me, it's 15,000 connections or fewer.
Oh,
So either way, yeah, yeah.
Either way,
Either
okay.
way, we're in there.
How
Yes,
many,
yes.
what do we have in water right now?
13.4,
Okay.
13.5, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I misread it, sorry.
So when I was looking into this as well, some of the, when I was going through our local hazard mitigation plan to see where some of our, some items that we've already identified, I did come across in there, we had a list, I identified all the fires in Calaveras County from 1908 to 2021. A total of 255 fires. 86 of them were 500 acres plus. 100 to 500 were 100 to 500 acres. There was 125, and 50 to 100 acres. There was 44 of them. So
Do you include the 25 from this year?
no, this is only the 2021. Yeah. So now we're gonna jump into the severity zones. Interesting enough, Calaveras County has a higher risk of wildfire than 98% of the counties in the US and 76% of the counties in California. As it says up
Okay.
there, more than 2,000 homes, 2 million California households, approximately 1 in 4 in residential structures are in high or very high fire severity zones.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
That's,
so
the insurance companies obviously have this information.
yeah, you don't see it well. The distinction between the high and the very high, I did break it down a little bit more. I'm not sure if you remember when I did it in the Mountain Counties presentation, I had each slide showing each of the zones, but that was more for the Mountain Counties region. I tried to get this more on just our region here. The next slide is going to talk about the wildland urban interface. And again, the WUI, which I just like saying WUI, but it's the wildland urban interface. And it is the zone of transition between unoccupied land and human development. It's that line of area or zone where structures and other human development meet or intermingle with undeveloped wildland or vegetative fuels. The next slide is kind
It's a
of,
great place to live, and there's actually people saying that we shouldn't be living there.
yeah. So if you could go back really quick and then just so we can see that transition again. So again, those orange, that's all the wildland urban interface zones as it is today within Calaveras County. This next map is a heat map of all of our fire hydrants within those. And this was just a kind of a fun map to make. And I think it's pretty impactful to see how many fire hydrants we have in some of these in our facilities. And go ahead and go to the next one. Again, so much so that if I have it at the right zoom level, it pretty much outlines all of our service areas just with fire hydrants. And so I zoomed in right there on just our Rancho Calaveras area, and that's all the fire hydrants in that zone.
Wow. How many is that?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I
No,
don't have that number yet.
I mean,
That map- This map is a little bit
is it-
older because we've
how many,
had
is
some
it
since
hundreds? Hundreds?
then. Yeah, thousands.
Thousand?
Oh, yeah, thousands.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a lot. But that's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's a,
oh,
that's,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
great thing.
No.
Yeah.
When Damon was saying how many that were given a report and how many that have been out or are out or being worked on. It seemed like a larger number, but with this many number, it's not as large.
According, yeah, it's actually pretty small considering how many we have.
Right. No, I
right?
didn't, I
Yeah,
didn't
so
have
in
any
context.
idea.
And that item is coming back to the full board with input from fire chiefs. And so we're going to focus on this in the next board meeting, I think.
Yeah.
Fire hydrants are good.
Okay, I expect you to read all of that.
Okay.
No, just kidding. No, that's essentially that government code section 53750 that I was talking about earlier. And that was some of the language that was put in this bill too. My notes skipped here. And essentially, I'll just read a little section out of it. And basically, they were worried about this bill. See, how can I put it? You know, it's to aid in fire suppression. They didn't want this to fall on the backs of the water system completely. You know, the fire hydrants are really not for the entire county. They can't support the entire county. They're really designed for the immediate area. And I'll read it straight out of here. So the hydrants are generally designed, installed, and used to provide an immediate available water service to aid in extinguishing fires and threatened property served by the water service provider. So again, this was included in those June 18th amendments, which clarified that the program would distribute funds for the purposes consistent with this section. You know, therefore, the responsibility of fire suppression falls on the fire service, not the water agencies. There was some concern back in March in that initial amendment of this falling on the backs of the water agencies, you know.
Creating liability.
Liability, exactly,
Right.
exactly. So there was that's some of the clarification that Aqua was working on to get that in there in this most recent June 18th amendment.
And I actually have a fire plug on my property.
Yeah. And
Good.
so, yeah, and so some of that stemmed, you know,
Blessed.
some of that government code stemmed from actually a lawsuit filed in 2020 where there was 81 plaintiffs against 80 different water agencies throughout the 218 process. And the complainant alleges that the water rates paid by the plaintiffs subsidized water service provided to the government and general government services, including public fire hydrant services. You know, so that they were almost saying that, you know, why should our rates have to pay for these fire hydrants and whatnot? And that's where that government code really clarifies that. And the fire hydrants are part of the water system. So that was a little tidbit on that. And essentially, again, Aqua does recommend a position of favor and amend, you know, as long as some of those amendments get in there, some of that brief language, but everybody is very supportive of this bill. And I think it's a great thing. And hopefully those monies become available after November and we can start getting some of these projects done. That's all I have on that. You have any questions on 1088?
No, no, not any further, none. Oh, we will have public comment. Hang on. Are you gonna, anything further? I mean, are you gonna report on the climate resiliency bond or this is,
That was more
Standalone.
informational. Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to break it down so you
Okay.
have that to look at. and
no, this is great. It is good to take home and I will keep my fingers
It
crossed.
feels, it feels like we're kind of in a waiting game. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to just kind of at least show what's.
So you
where
can
some of the money-
report on this, in November after it passes or just
Oh.
throw it away if it doesn't.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, so
All right.
hopefully.
All right, we will take public comment on, any of the state-led updates.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. That's a wonderful piece of literature you put together. That's just awesome. Because I was writing down the things that, who was a representative, Kylie. I'm writing down review online, review online, review online, and here you took care of all that work. Thank you. Yeah, hey. Okay. SB 1088, creating interconnections between water systems. Does this mean less red tape from interconnections between CCWD and East Bay Mud and SSPUC? Is that what they're talking about? No,
No, it has
Okay.
much more, well, it's possible with East Bay Mud, I suppose, in that portion of the county, but really it's more focused on local agencies and where we can provide interconnections between us to support fire suppression.
Like maybe through to, with as close as our systems are, Valley Springs PUD
We have an interconnection there already.
on wastewater. Do we have it on water?
Water,
Okay.
just water. I think the perfect example of it is the work we're already doing right now with the Highway 4 agencies and potentially connecting those distribution systems to be able to provide each other with a backup source of water in the event of a fire.
Gotcha.
Okay, is there a backup source in case something happens to the Lake Tulloch siphon
For copper,
for copper?
a backup source of water if say, the dam were to fail or the water's below the intake pumps or the intake pumps fail.
Right,
No, is the short answer.
okay.
Kelly, you want to jump in there? But
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's also identified in the local hazard mitigation plan.
Okay.
So again, we do have that identified. It's already in that plan, which we just adopted earlier in 2023 as for a backup supply. So that would, that once there is a plan, hopefully this can help out with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Let's get a plan going. I know it may never happen. I never thought I'd be evacuated either. Government code 53750.50, state or federal?
government code is state.
State. Thank you.
Thank you. No, any of the public online, any public comment? Any other questions? Kelly, anything further? Excellent handout, Kelly, and great explanations. Appreciate it. Anything further, Michael, on state ledge or follow up on federal?
Nope, nothing
Okay.
further. It's a really great job, Kelly. Thank you for pulling all that together.
Item 5, general manager comments.
I think for legal affairs, I don't have any other comments.
Awesome. And I just had that one future agenda item, just to look back in, circle back on the bureau stuff under federal. And yeah, keep this state stuff coming. This is awesome. I mean, good to give us a heads up of what's coming in the agenda, and then very good conversation. I love it when you get somebody else from outside to present here too. That really is impressive. That's my only comment. Jeff can't make comments today. Our next committee meeting, Tuesday, October 1st. Oh, another future agenda item will be reviewing that fall or follow up on the fall DC trip
Yes.
on those dates and confirm. And then October 1st will be our next meeting at 1 p.m. October 1st, Tuesday. All right, without anything else, we're adjourned.